This video is to demonstrate how to create an office encounter for the transactions when a patient comes into the office. When you go into your SIM chart for the medical record, whether this is your EHR exercise or your numeric assignments, your default screen will once again begin at the calendar or your appointment book. If your patient has been fully registered, then you should not have any problems with this task. So in order to generate an office encounter, you must click on your Find Patient. Once your patient search screen opens up, I have a test patient that we'll use for demonstration purposes. You would click in the last name if you wasn't sure of the patient. You can scroll through your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or next and scroll through your patient list. If I'm looking for a test patient and it's not visible on my front screen, you can use your last name search box. It will narrow down your search. You will click on the radio dial in front of the patient's name, confirm the date of birth and telephone number or any other identifiers that you have to make sure you're pulling the accurate patient. You will select this patient, and then you will come to the patient chart. In order to create an encounter, you will create either an office visit or a phone encounter. In our previous course, we entered and created phone encounters. This is for actual office visits where the patient is coming into the office. So we would click on Office Visit. If this patient has been seen previously, you may see previous encounters that have been created. If I want to click, in this case, I need to click New because if the patient is coming in today and my encounter has not already been created and is not visible in my list here, then I will need to click Add New to create a new encounter or super bill form that will create an electronic encounter. This is where we will enter our patient's chart notes. If you remember from our MED 130 or Administrative Office Procedures Class 1. So this is where you have your different visits. You'll notice that it tells you your providers, the date of service, the type of visit. You'll see I've done several demonstrations for new patient. You have the date the encounters were created, even though your date of service is different. It provides your status. It shows if this one has already been charted and the provider has signed off and closed that encounter, then it will close out the status. If it has not been completely charted and the super bill has not been completed and coded out, it says that it is still in progress. If you want to print either one of these, you can do so by clicking on the blue printer. If you need to chart, remember we go to, you would go to your records drop down and it would actually, it's a hyperlink and would let you open up and go into your actual charting. In this case, we need to create an encounter for today. Either the patient's coming in or some type of service or transaction has been performed. So we're going to click on Add New. This will open Create New Encounter dialog box. You need to click the date of service that you're wanting to perform. So for me, today is October the 1st. If I was wanting to do, the patient was seen yesterday and in the office and I need to generate an encounter, I can change the date. So this is the date the transaction actually took place or the encounter with that patient or individual. You will pick the visit type. So if it is a new patient, you would click New Patient. If it is an established patient, you would click Established Patient. Urgent, well, 6 months. So this is where you would pick the visit type. I think in our homework assignment, ours are going to be either new patient or they're going to be established visits. Or you could, I think we have a couple wellness visits. You could click on one of those as well, or even a comprehensive. So um, I'm just going to pick one at this point. You would need to click the appropriate one according to your assignment. Then you're going to click the appropriate provider according to your instructions and your assignment. We will click Save. Once I do this, notice it has now created a follow-up established visit for encounter date of service September 30th. And notice this has now pushed me into the paper chart. What would be a paper chart, the electronic portion where we would actually do chart entries, and we would enter allergies, chief complaints, health histories, immunizations, progress notes, etc. This particular video is for super bills only, so you have to do this portion first. When you are scheduling appointment, traditionally your real world EHR systems, when you schedule that appointment in your appointment book or calendar portion, it will automatically generate a super bill or an encounter for you, and you would not have to do this process. But since this is an educational EHR system, they want us to learn how to do this separate step. If a patient didn't have an appointment and was in the office with their mother or another family member or another patient and said, "Oh, I need a refill," and the doctor says, "Hey, go ahead and open an encounter," now you would know how to do this even from a clinical setting, even if we don't have an actual appointment. So oftentimes these are patients that just showed up in our office, or were in the office and did not have a scheduled appointment, but we need to do a chart entry or we need to bill for a service at this time. Once you've got to this point, your encounter has indeed been created, so we do not need to do anything further at this point. Your homework assignment may require, if you do not have your encounters already created, you may have to do this portion for your patients prior to moving into your super bill. However, I already have my encounter form created, so now I'm simply ready to go to coding and billing. And traditionally, this is where, if all of your encounters have already been created, which means when you go to find a patient, every time you pull up that patient, you would see that open encounter from that dashboard like we see here. So if you go to find patient and you see that you have your super bills already here, or you can go to coding and billing, make sure that you are clicked on your super bill, and you can do a patient search. So if I clicked in a patient and my patient has been registered and established, and I select them, if this patient has not been fully registered, you will get a message. Mine has been registered. I did not get a message that said it has not been registered and I needed to do anything more. However, you can see I do not have any encounters that are coded, and I do not have any encounters or super bills that are waiting for me to code out and apply fees or compare with my fee schedule and post those items to my super bill, which tells me at this point, if you pull up a patient and your screen looks like this, then you need to stop, go back to your clinical care, find your patient, and create that office encounter visit like I just finished demonstrating. By clicking Find, go to my patient, select the radio dial, make sure I am pulling the appropriate patient, hit Select. Notice I have no encounters showing under here, so that means I need to go to Office Visit. I need to create my encounter. So if she was a new patient, and then pick the appropriate provider, and click Save. Now this is ready for any chart notations, progress notes, or anything of that nature that needs to be documented in that paper chart. It can be done so at this time. If I click back on the patient's dashboard, I still do not have, there it goes. I had to give SimChart a minute. I was moving faster than it was. You have my encounter is now visible. It shows my date of service. It says it's in progress. And so now I know when I go over to my coding and billing, I should be able to do a patient search under super bills and be able to locate my actual super bill at this time. So that is how we generate an office visit and start that super bill process. You have to have this done in order to have your super bills ready. So here's my Aaron Mitchell. Notice already it's populated. Shows that this encounter is waiting for me to pull my fee schedules and complete my super bill with the appropriate charges, labs, and fees that the provider has marked on my paper super bill. This concludes this video on how to create an office encounter to begin the process for submitting a super bill. The next video will demonstrate from this portion how to create and finish coding out and applying charges to the super bill before we post it to the ledger.